So another week, another episode of Impact Wrestling on Access TV, and another Tony Khan paid advertisement. And I know we cover all of the paid advertisements. We have covered all of the paid advertisements that Tony Khan has done on Impact Wrestling so far, when he's been inside the Impact Zone, when he's just been in front of a green screen, or this time when he's been at the Jacksonville Jaguars TIAA Stadium. This week's one was really interesting because, as I keep mentioning every single week when we cover these Tony Khan paid ads, it's only the beginning and things are starting to come together more and more, and this Tony Khan heel character that he is portraying on Impact Wrestling so far is getting bigger and bigger and more expansive and developing more of a personality every single week right now. So there's been a lot of talk recently, hasn't there, when it comes to Tony Khan and Impact Wrestling, AEW, especially when the topic of New Japan Pro Wrestling comes up about Forbidden Doors recently. And that's what this whole promo last night with Tony Khan and Tony Schiavone was all about, the Forbidden Door. Now, obviously, you can think about it as a variety of terms, but in the world of pro wrestling, this is the code word for the relationship between All Elite Wrestling and New Japan Pro Wrestling. Now, appearing on Impact Wrestling last night with Tony Schiavone in one of their weekly paid promotional advertisement spots, the two men hyped up this week's edition of AEW Dynamite on TNT, specifically the main event of Kenny Omega and Kenta versus IWGP United States Heavyweight Champion Jon Moxley and former IWGP United States Heavyweight Champion Lance Archer. Tony Khan said in the promo, quotes, "Everywhere I go, people have been asking me for months, Tony, when are you going to open the Forbidden Door? When is New Japan coming to AEW?" And I kept telling them, I don't know where the Forbidden Door is. Then I figured it out all along. The Forbidden Door was me. I'm the Forbidden Door. I just had to open myself. Now, Tony Khan, after bragging about this and patting himself on the back metaphorically and physically, he later added, "One thing I do know, the Forbidden Door has been opened, and I can't wait for this week's main event on AEW Dynamite." Now, although these riddles about the Forbidden Doors are quite long here, and he gets into the forest a little bit with these ones, it is certainly undeniable that it's very, very exciting right now to be a pro wrestling fan, and being that Tony Khan is one of the biggest pro wrestling fans, and he's pulling all the strings, who knows what could happen, and Tony Khan certainly teased that when he finished his promo with, quote, "I want to do more big things, I want to do more big ratings, I want to have more people show up, let's do this every single week." And then he teased that he would be back in the Impact Zone in the very near future. So there's certainly a lot to read into there. Because Tony Khan is teasing a multitude of things there, really, isn't he? He's teasing that this Impact Wrestling relationship with AEW is far from over, and it's going to continue at least into the foreseeable future. But also, you have the Forbidden Door that is New Japan Pro Wrestling, because Kenta, of course, showed up on Dynamite last week. He attacked Jon Moxley, and now he's teasing that more people could be showing up on AEW in the future. But what does that mean? That means possibly more people from Impact Wrestling, and possibly it might go the other way as well. More people from AEW will show up on Impact. Now, I know what some of you may say, well, we actually technically had a lot of AEW stars appear on Impact Wrestling last night. That is very, very true, but we will be talking about that in another video that will be dropping today, so be sure to check that out. Be sure to subscribe bottom right hand corner so you don't miss that one. So let's break down the promo this week that Tony Khan did with Tony Schiavone. Obviously, it was the same as what we've come to expect when it comes to Khan and Schiavone and their paid advertisements this week. Hyped up tomorrow's Dynamite card. Again, that kind of purpose of it is a bit redundant, because how many people are tuning in to Impact Wrestling Live on Access TV? 170,000 live viewers average over the course of the last few weeks. What, 50, 60,000 on Twitch, if that's a really good number for them. Maybe, a couple more 100,000 on YouTube or on social media. These paid advertisements aren't to promote AEW, because if that was the case, then there really is no point. AEW doesn't need the promotion on Access TV. They need the promotion on TNT and on other more wider viewed networks. They don't need the promotion on Access TV and on Impact Wrestling. What they're for is to continue this AEW and Impact Wrestling relationship. Initially, it was all about the logic, wasn't it? Initially, it was all about Tony Khan responding to Don Callis and Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega was appearing on Impact Wrestling every single week, and Tony Khan, because it's a logical storyline, had to come out and said, you know what, I'm allowing this. Some of you might be saying, how can Kenny Omega, the AEW World Champion, appear on a rival promotion based in the United States? If I was a smart guy, if I was a businessman, I would block this from happening. I would would file an injunction. I would get Kenny Omega tied up in legal ramifications and lawsuits, and he wouldn't be able to appear on Impact Wrestling or AEW for that matter. He would be locked in legal purgatory. But since Kenny Omega isn't appearing on Impact Wrestling for the last few weeks, and Don Callis as well, he's appearing on AEW, they're off on hiatus in Jacksonville, it kind of leaves the question, well, what's the point of having these Tony Khan paid advertisements in terms of the logic of the storyline? The reason why he's doing it is because he's a character. He's a heel. Tony Khan, over the course of the last few weeks especially, has started to show people what this heel character is in Impact Wrestling. You know, people have thought of him as this naive billionaire fan with too much money, not enough brains, and he's just a big pro wrestling fan with too much money and too much time. He's kind of buying into that. He's kind of riling those people up. He's saying that, look, all of these great things that are happening in pro wrestling right now, this sort of alliance between AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, the NWA, AAA, that's all because of me. You know, and Don Callis can call himself the Invisible Hand, but I'm truly the Forbidden Door, the door that has never been opened before, the door that's made all of these companies work together. You got to think about what AEW Dynamite did last week and what that Beach Break episode of Dynamite on TNT did last week. They had a show where you had contracted wrestlers appear from AEW, Impact Wrestling, and the NWA, the National Wrestling Alliance, and also New Japan Pro Wrestling. When has that happened before? It hasn't. I mean, it really hasn't. Certainly not in a long, long time. Certainly not in modern wrestling. You know, we know in modern pro wrestling, you know, you stick to your tribe and that's it. So much so that it's kind of bled over to the fan base, if you will, that you're only allowed to watch AEW. And if you watch AEW, you don't like WWE and you don't like NXT. Or if you watch WWE and NXT, you hate AEW and all that kind of stuff. It's got so tribal. And this whole Tony Khan masterpiece, frankly, what he's doing with AEW right now and breaking down those barriers, he's tapping into the reality of that. He's coming into it and saying, look, this is all because of me. And this heel character, and I know I repeat myself all the time, and I know probably you're really sick of hearing me saying this, but it gets better every single week. It really does get better every single week. And this Tony Khan character in Impact Wrestling is just that now. It's a character. It's a heel character. I know he said he would never do it in AEW, and for the large part, I don't think he will. I don't think he needs to. I mean, they struggle to get all of their wrestlers on TNT for 2 hours every single week anyway, let alone if you lead 3 or 4 or 5 minutes to Tony Khan doing a promo. That would certainly get a lot of people talking, and probably not for the right reasons. When it comes to Impact, though, he slots in really well, and I look forward to these paid advertisements every single week. I look forward to it because not only do I think Tony Khan does a really good job, and I do think he does a really good job, I think he's actually a really underrated promo. I look forward to it because we get a little nugget every single week, a little nugget of information as to what's coming next or what's planned to come next. Tony Khan teases a lot of things in these paid advertisements, and they continue to pay off. So what does he mean now? I don't know. I really, really don't know. He said at the end of this promo last night, you know, I want to do more big ratings and I want more people to show up. Let's do this every single week. So if he's saying that, that could imply something's big planned. Something big is planned for tonight's episode of Dynamite on TNT. We've already got a massive main event. I mean, that main event, you know, I don't like to be one of those people that said, oh, you know, think of it, a year ago, wouldn't have this been amazing? But think of it, you know, a year ago or whatever, having Jon Moxley carrying the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship, teaming with Lance Archer, going up against Kenta and Kenny Omega, who had been appearing in Impact recently. All of that would have been absolutely crazy talk. You'd have said, are you serious? That is nuts. That is absolutely insane. So to see that happening right now, it really is crazy. It really is crazy, and it does imply that more could happen, or more is scheduled to happen tonight. What does that mean when he says I want to do more big ratings and have more people show up? Where are they going to show up from? New Japan. The question is right now, I guess, who would show up from New Japan? I know there's a very big Bullet Club vibe right now, and Rocky Romero is kind of stoking those fires. So maybe it could be him. Tama Tonga, I don't know if he's even in the United States right now. All of that is kind of, it depends on location. Rocky Romero is certainly a possibility. And that would be interesting because we know he's obviously got the relationship with the Good Brothers. He does the Talking Shop and Mania podcasts and stuff like that, and does those specials on Fight TV. Tama Tonga is based in Florida. I don't know if he's in Japan right now though. He's certainly been very outspoken about this whole Bullet Club thing. Maybe he's in on it altogether. Maybe it might be another big New Japan star. I think Jay White's still out in Japan. Certainly, could you imagine that? All of that discussion about Jay White and is he going to sign with WWE? In reality, he signed a 7-year contract a couple of years ago. He's got 5 years left on that deal. Imagine he shows up on Dynamite. Could you imagine if Jay White showed up on Dynamite? People would lose their minds. And that would really go to indicate what this whole relationship is between AEW, New Japan, and Impact, because Impact factored into that. Impact factor into it because you have the Good Brothers, the Impact Tag Team Champions, because you have Don Callis making phone calls, making connections. All of that, they're all intertwined, you know. Don't just think this is an AEW and New Japan thing. This is an AEW, New Japan, and Impact Wrestling thing. Don Callis is very involved in all of this. He's involved in the main event tonight on Dynamite too. So certainly it is very interesting. Oh, and to be honest, when Tony Khan says I want to do more big ratings and I want more people to show up, he could obviously be talking about Impact Wrestling people. There's a possibility that, of course, I don't know, Chris Sabin, James Storm, absolutely there's a possibility they could show up tonight on Dynamite, because this coming Saturday, of course, and we will be doing a video about this at some point, the tag team title match for the Impact Tag Team Championships has been changed. Initially, of course, it was the Good Brothers versus Private Party with Matt Hardy in Private Party's corner, but now it's changed to a triple threat tag team match. You've got James Storm and Chris Sabin going up against the Good Brothers and Private Party. So obviously with that match being on Saturday, there's certainly a possibility we could see Chris Sabin and James Storm show up on Impact Wrestling tonight, on Dynamite rather tonight. So there is certainly a plethora of options available to Tony Khan, and again, that's a good thing as a pro wrestling fan, isn't it? You know, you've got all of these options that are available to Tony Khan, and as a fan, we really don't know what's going to happen right now. You know, I have no idea what's going to happen tonight on Dynamite or going forward for Impact Wrestling. Impact Wrestling have been doing TV tapings this week. There have been rumors about non-Impact Wrestling wrestlers appearing at that TV taping. Who knows? Who knows? I think what we've learned so far with this AEW and Impact Wrestling relationship is that every time we think we know what's going on, whether it's just a Kenny Omega thing, or whether, you know, every time we think that, something changes all the time. Whether it's Kenny Omega wrestling a match and then suddenly he's wearing a Bullet Club shirt and he didn't have permission to do that. Next thing you know, it's Matt Hardy and Private Party showing up. Next thing you know, it's Tony Khan himself appearing in the Impact Zone taking notes on his Star Trek pad. I mean, anything at this point is possible, and anything can and will happen. So I think something very significant, will happen tonight on AEW Dynamite. What it is, I don't know. I think Tony Khan, you know, before he's teased this whole the balance of power will shift in pro wrestling, and he kind of did that tease prematurely, didn't he? He said tonight the balance of power in pro wrestling will shift, and he got a lot of people to tune in, and it was only Pac returning, and people were frustrated because they felt like they'd been conned or misled by Tony Khan in that situation. In reality, he had just made the announcement a couple of weeks too early, because that's when you had the Impact Wrestling relationship merge with AEW, and now obviously we've got the New Japan influence as well. There's obviously some form of working relationship or agreement with them in place as well. I know it has been one with Impact Wrestling too, because we've seen Impact Wrestling stars appear for New Japan in various tournaments. So there's a lot going on. And as I mentioned, every time we think we know what's going on, we're far from actually knowing in reality what is actually happening. So anything can and will happen tonight on AEW Dynamite. As far as who will show up from Impact, like I said, I think Sabin and James Storm would certainly be a possibility. I think that would certainly really help No Surrender, really, wouldn't it? I mean, we've seen what happens before when it comes to the Winter is Coming edition of Dynamite, what that plug essentially did at the end of that show, what that did for the following week's episode of Impact Wrestling. I mean, record ratings on Access TV, record numbers on Twitch, record numbers on YouTube, you named it. That was just with one plug at the end of the show. So I think Impact Wrestling might be looking at it to say, look, if we send James Storm and Chris Sabin over, we get an angle with Sabin, Storm, the Good Brothers, and Private Party and Matt Hardy tonight on Dynamite. That would do really good things for us on Saturday for No Surrender. So maybe that's what Impact Wrestling are trying to leverage right now. That could certainly be a possibility. Or maybe we have a New Japan influence, and maybe we have an announcement that one of the AEW names or even a New Japan name is coming to Impact Wrestling next week. Who knows? Anything is a possibility right now. But as always, really enjoyed the Tony Khan promo. I think they get better every single week, and I'm very, very excited for it. But of course, as always, it's just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on the Tony Khan promo last night on Impact Wrestling? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, talking about Impact Wrestling, AEW, WWE, New Japan Pro Wrestling, all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So be sure to get involved in the community, drop a comment below. All opinions are welcome. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button too. Really does help us out here on YouTube, go up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestling News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or have you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.